Hey everyone, I'm Pete Dalliday, and welcome to this edition of Hometown PTBO, brought to you by Trans Canada Nissan. Special guest again this week. We've been so lucky. We're going to go out to Kawartha Food Share and say hello to Ashlee. Good day, Ashlee. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
We're great. You're busy. Always lots going on there, pandemic or not. It's a busy spot at Kawartha Food Share, and can't wait to talk to you more about that. But just tell us, we always ask people at the start where they grew up. You grew up in Southern Ontario, just outside of Chatham, right?
Yeah, I grew up in Wallaceburg, just a small little town outside of Chatham, close to Windsor. Great little community, very tight knit. My family is still there, so I visit quite often, but happy to be in Peterborough too.
Yeah, absolutely. We're happy to have you. You grew up there, and then you headed to Brock University and graduated from there. Is that your sister with you?
That's my mom. That was back in 2012. I graduated. I studied sociology and history, so I double majored. I loved Brock. That was probably like one of my favorite times of my life for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of a similar size city as Peterborough to an extent. And even though we have better lacrosse here, right? In
Way
Peterborough and
better.
St. Catharines. Yeah.
Way better for us.
So you came to Peterborough though in the 2012 and around there, and a boy brought you here, but you certainly have stuck around. Just tell us about your early days here in Peterborough because they sound interesting.
Yeah, so I came here in 2012. After graduation, I was kind of at a crossroads. I'm like, do I go back home? Like such a small town, not much to do there. Or do I try out Peterborough? It's funny because I hung out with a lot of people in university from Peterborough, and they were all just so like in love with this city. Like they were diehard like Peterboroughans, and I'm like, what is it about this city that people love so much? But anyway, I came here and it was a learning curve at first. Like it was definitely a community where everyone knew everyone except for me. And so uh, the first like few months I was questioning my choices, but I've grown to love it so much. Like I'll never leave now. Like you guys are stuck with me forever. But yeah, that was in 2012, and then 2014 I started at KFS, and it's just been all uphill since then.
That's awesome. I understand your first job interview was up in the North End, and you didn't even know what the North End was. As we take a look at some history, that's one of your early days, I guess, right there. Is that one of the first sort of Crama Cruisers?
Yeah, that's the first food drive I did. I started in KFS in August, and that was in October, I guess, around Thanksgiving. And that was probably like up until then, it was such a learning curve, like learning a whole new job. I didn't even have really anyone training me at my position. The person there had left quite a few months before I started. So I was just kind of feeling like overwhelmed. And I remember after that first food drive, I was like, wow, like this is amazing. Like we pulled this together, the community showed up, there was all of these donations. Like it was such a feel good moment. And I think it was at then when I felt like, oh, I could really do this. Like I can
Yeah.
stick around and make this happen year after year. Yeah.
You know what? And being firsthand on, and I think I was maybe with you on a couple of those Crama Cruisers briefly. You would have spent the whole weekend there, but to see the people of Peterborough purchasing food, whether it be at a Sobeys or whatever, the police officers sort of giving their time, cramming those cruisers, is that what got you? I guess I don't want to say hooked, but sort of like this. This maybe was meant to be.
Oh, 100%. It was like I just couldn't believe, and like maybe it was because it was my first food drive, but I just never had been a part of a community that was that generous. And like I've done a lot of things in my life. My brother and I were involved in like a ton of things growing up, a million different sports. My mom had us volunteering at a million different things. And I just after that first food drive, I was just amazed. Like everyone was just so excited to
Mhm.
support us, and like you said, like the police officers giving their time, and just like those bags are, $10 or $20, and people were coming out with multiple bags. And I just like I think at that point is when I felt such a sense of community, that everybody had been talking about Peterborough for so long, and I'd never really experienced until then. And yeah, and every year it just got better and better, and I just loved it. Like I love hosting those events. it's obviously fun just, to talk to people and communicate with everyone,
Sure.
but just to see community members helping their fellow neighbors is just like such a feel good moment. And I think that's one of the things about my job that I love so much.
Yeah, it's not really Thanksgiving, it seems, without Crema Cruiser, right? And some
Yeah.
other food drives. You become such a huge part of the community. I'm not going to say in a short time, because you've been working away there now for about 7 years coming up this year. But it just seems like Kawartha Food Share wouldn't be where it is without you. And I don't, expect you to brag about yourself or talk about yourself, but you have brought it to the next level along with the likes of Dave Ralph and the board and such. But where do you think we would be without Kawartha Food Share?
Gosh, I don't know. We've thought a
No?
lot about that this past year. I honestly do not know what we would have done throughout this pandemic if
Yeah.
AFS didn't exist. I mean, we have so many people right now using our services that had never had to, visit a food bank or a meal program or reach out for help before. And so I don't know. I think I'm so thankful to have the board that I have at KFS. Dave Ralph and the rest of the gang, they've really put their full support and trust into me. And I feel kind of like an entrepreneur of sorts, because KFS has existed long before me, and they've done such an amazing job for years. And I always come at them with all these ideas that to me seem like so extreme, and like I'm surprised sometimes they even say like, yeah, go for it. But I think we've just grown to lengths that like even I never really imagined would happen. And I'm so thankful that we have, because we have unfortunately such a high food insecurity rate in the city. And yeah, like I'd hate to think what would happen if KFS didn't exist, although our end goal is
Right.
to end food insecurity and to put me out of a job. I say that
Yeah.
to people all the time. Like everyone's like, oh, food banks are kind of a band-aid solution. I'm like, they are completely. Like, if you want to help us end this, like I will gladly lose my job.
Find something else.
Yeah, like if it means everyone in our community has access to food, then for sure, like I'll move on. But we're not at that point yet, and I don't think we will be for a while. But yeah.
Well, in the meantime, you're doing a great job there. Let's talk about lacrosse a little bit, because you have fallen in love with another country, with another group of kids, and this all kind of started with the Women's Lacrosse Championships a couple of years ago. Tell us about that, because you're pretty passionate about it.
Yeah, like even just seeing these pictures, my God, I miss these kids so much. I think, Kenya lacrosse is probably like the best thing I've done in my life. I've learned so much from these kids. Like I even get emotional talking about them, because they're just like such amazing people, and they deserve so much more than what they have. But yeah, I reached out to Fred Blows, who was running the Worlds back in 2019 here, and just basically from a KFS standpoint, and said, listen, we have all these vehicles, we have a warehouse, like what can I do to help you guys? I know what an undertaking it is to host a small event. I couldn't imagine what he was doing. And so I kind of started getting involved that way. And then Rose Powers, who's probably one of my favorite people in the entire world, started collecting donations for this Kenya team that was coming. And so I'm like, oh, I'll help with that. And they needed a liaison, and then it just spiraled into, what it is now. And so, gosh, they're just amazing. And like, sport is just basically the tip of the iceberg in terms of what we do with these kids. They come from nothing. And so if we run a training camp or, practices or games for them, we know that weekend they're being fed, they're being housed, they have a bed to sleep on. For just a couple days, they can forget about all of the, troubles they carry with them every single day, and just focus on playing lacrosse and have some fun with their friends. And it's just so much fun. I cannot wait to get back there. Well,
tell us quickly, I got a couple of quick ones for you, but the day you brought them to Lansdowne Place and they all had gift cards to use, that must have been like Christmas times 100 for them.
It was so crazy. Like, I remember taking a group of them into the dollar store, and they were just like mind blown. And they had like a $10 gift card. Like, we're not talking about astronomical amounts of money here. And the things they were getting, like swimming goggles. None of them knew how to swim, but they were getting all these goggles. They were getting like kitchen utensils that they had never seen. Like, one of them bought an umbrella. Like, it was just so funny to see like what they were
Yeah.
purchasing, like with the like probably first they've never had a gift card before, but yeah, and like so many of them had bought stuff for their family to take back home to them to show them. Like it was just so neat. And yeah, that was probably one of my favorite days of them being here for sure.
The other thing too is I've had the opportunity. We've been teammates before, playing a little exhibition ringette against the Special Olympics team. What you also are very good at working with that group and volunteering your time as well. So
Yeah, so much fun.
we can't wait to get back doing that.
I know, I missed that. A few of them had volunteered at our last food drive. We had our Porch Pirates food drive, and they're like, "Oh, we can't wait to get back out there and beat you guys again." Like, I don't think we've ever won a game, Pete. So I don't know why we keep playing, but yeah,
we're still waiting for our first win. But Coach Dan hopefully will get us into shape next year. But Ashlee, I'm going to list a couple names, and I just want you to tell me the first thing that comes to your mind when I list these names, and
okay,
10 to 15 seconds for each. You mentioned him earlier, but Dave Rolfe.
Oh gosh, I love Dave so much. He's obviously my board chair, but he's so much more to me than that. He's such a great mentor. He's so passionate about the community and food insecurity, and he just has the biggest heart of anyone I've ever met. And I'm so thankful to work with him every day, and especially this past year because schools have not been obviously in. So he's down at the warehouse more often volunteering, and he's just such a great person.
Lois Tuffin and Meg Murphy.
Oh, what a dynamic duo those girls are. We have so much fun. Honestly, like food drive days used to be so stressful for me because I'm kind of a one-person show. Like I wear so many hats. I'm like here, there, and everywhere. And having them, kind of take over the coordinating of our last couple of big food drives has just been like such a blessing. I just love them.
Eileen Kimmett and her kids.
Oh, the Kimmets, they honestly, like, is there anything they're not involved in this community? Like, they are just, those kids help us so much in the warehouse. A lot of our volunteers are older. And so when these young kids come in, like, they are put to work and they never complain, always smiling, volunteer at all of our events. They have sure raised those kids right.
The fairly new to Peterborough Sign Bandits from this past Christmas time. Curtis and I.
That was so much fun. Like that was such a stressful time for us. The holidays are always stressful, but the pandemic holidays were something I've never experienced before. And that was just like the most fun every day. We were so excited to see like what you guys were up to. And it was those donations were such a huge help to us during the holidays. Thank you. I hope you do it again, even if it's not fun to watch you.
We'll see. I have a feeling, but listen, this has been a blast. We could probably do a whole hour with you. You're such a great person and doing a great job at Kawartha Food Share. We appreciate it. Thank you so much, and I hope you get to Kenya real soon. I hope they can come here again for you and keep up the great work out there. And we will we'll continue to support what you guys are doing out there.
Thank you so much for having me.
That wraps up another edition, ladies and gentlemen, of Hometown PTBO. It's all brought to you by Trans Canada Nissan.